Ajnanatirmirandasya Gyananjana Sadakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachanam Pangum Langayate Girim Yatkipatamahang Bande Shri Gurun Dinataranam Panchakalpa Tarobhyascha Kripa Sandhubevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. Some years ago I attended in Mayapur, Parikram, and I had the great fortune of listening to Bhakti Vaibhav Maharaj. And one of the interesting things that he mentioned when he came to Krishna consciousness is that he didn't know English. He didn't know English. I think he's German boy. So, and he only learned English through studying Srila Prabhupada's books. So that's one of the benefits of studying Srila Prabhupada's books, is that you get to learn to speak English nicely. And we have evidence for that. But in general, the principles of reading, study, and teaching Srila Prabhupada's books are very important principles. And there's many reasons why these principles are important. And I thought just for today, for practical purposes, we'll just briefly go over three such issues. And the first one is a form of worship. Reading and studying is a form of worship. So there's a nice verse. Adyasate chayo imang dharmyam sambadav avayu gyanaya gena tenaham ishtasham itime mati. That one who studies the Bhagavad Gita worships by his intelligence. This is described in that's the Lord's concluding statement in the Gita, his instructions to Arjuna. And so there we see that reading and studying is a form of worship. Is worshiping the Supreme Lord, as he himself says. And in fact, and then the second reason, of course, is for purification purposes. In his glorification of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Sanatana Goswami writes that devotees should read Bhagavatam, but that reading Bhagavatam is important. But not only is it important, but it also contains, in each and every syllable, it contains Krishna Prem. Just think about that for a little bit. So, which will bring me to the third reason that we should be reading Srila Prabhupada's books, and that is through association. Reading is also a form of association. There's a saying, I don't know if this can be verified. You know, there's a lot of quotes that float around, and they attribute it to many different people. So I'm not going to attribute this to anybody, but there's a saying that you are the average of 5 people that you associate with. Right? You average of about 5 people that you associate with. And in this regard, there was a nice article written by His Grace Gopi Paranana Prabhu. This is in 2001, in ICJ, his Communication Journals. There he tackles the issue of Srila Prabhupada's position in terms of in relation to our acharyas. And the conclusion basically there is that Prabhupada's purport, although sometimes they may seem quite repetitive and sometimes boring, but there's actually a lot of history contained in these purports, right? And Gopi Paranana Prabhu, he took one verse and he sort of, he broke it down, he analyzed it. And the conclusion was that in most, if not all, of Srila Prabhupada's purports, like 90% of all the information is there, Srila Prabhupada actually rephrasing the previous acharyas' positions, their realizations, in a language that we can all understand today. So what this means basically is that we're not only associating with Srila Prabhupada through the study of Srila Prabhupada's books, but we're also associating with the previous acharyas, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Sridhar Swami, Baladev Vidyabhushan. And as it's been said, we've heard so many times how Prabhupada has said that his purports are his own ecstasies. So if you combine Srila Prabhupada's ecstasies, you combine that with the previous Acharya's ecstasies, and you put it all together, you have a sort of a sutra. Although Prabhupada's purports can be quite long, 4 or 5 pages long, but they're also sutras because they contain a lot of ecstasy, Srila Prabhupada's own ecstasies, but the ecstasies of also of the previous Acharyas. And Gopiparanana Prabhu, he also explained, not in this particular essay, this was in a class in Mayapur, how Agni expands in 3 ways. Agni Dev expands in 3 ways. He expands as the fire yagya, he expands as the fire of digestion, but he also expands as the ability to comprehend, the graha, the ability to grasp things. That's also a form of fire. And to properly understand, to properly grasp things and be able to look at them, from those that studied engineering, you have a bolt, you can look at it from the top, from the side, and then draw it. So the ability to grasp things and look at them from a different perspective. He was explaining that this can actually, the purification that comes, that verse that I put up there, is that, maybe I'll come back to that later. So the ecstasies that are contained in Srila Prabhupada's purport can actually really be understood by reading and studying itself. So in one way, reading is also a form of purification. It's also a form of strengthening that fire of digestion, the mental ability to understand things. And Prabhupada writes in many of his purposes that proper use of intelligence is actually come to the point where we realize that we are not the body. We are spiritual beings. We are spirit, soul, part and parcels of Krishna. So this is the ultimate goal of the use of one's intelligence. Now, earlier during some of the presentation, it was explained, it was described how, Govardhan Prabhu at least, he described how it's important that we increase our book distribution in Africa in general. And this is an important point. And I'd like to contend that when we have read, we have studied Srila Prabhupada's books, and we have developed a sort of appreciation for Srila Prabhupada's books, it becomes easier to go out and preach or distribute the books. In that way, we are not doing it out of duty, but we are doing it out of love, because we understand, as I said, these purposes they contain, these are in a sutra form, Srila Prabhupada's own ecstasies. So I challenge you to just take one verse of Bhagavad Gita and just really go into it, and see what happens. It most likely will increase your own faith, your own conviction in Srila Prabhupada's books. So, because at least to a large degree, it has strengthened my own conviction in Srila Prabhupada's books, and it has also inspired me to go out on book distribution. I don't have to have a reason to go out and distribute books. It's not that it's my duty, it's my service, but I just like to do it. And this is all stemming from studying Srila Prabhupada's book, reading Prabhupada's books, and questioning those devotees that, that fire, that ability to grasp has been fed, has been reinforced. It's not like how do you say, a tsunami? A fire in a form of a tsunami, and they're able to grasp and understand the books. So through that question and answer format, in studying the books in that way, I find in many other devotees that the conviction increases, and the desire to go out and distribute books becomes even more stronger. So that is my challenge to all of you, that if we can, please, let's study Srila Prabhupada's books in that mood. There was, in conclusion, a nice, I think this was in the BTG many years ago, an article that was written by Burijan Prabhu. It was entitled Prayerful Reading. That the Bhagavad Gita, and when I speak about Bhagavatam, this includes the Bhaktivedanta purports. When I speak about scripture, it includes Prabhupada's purport. That they are alive. Bhagavatam is a person. Bhagavad Gita is a person. So when we engage with a person, there is a form of reciprocation. So when we approach the books, in Srila Prabhupada's books like that, in that mood, in a very prayerful mood, in a very devotional mood, what happens? Krishna reciprocates, and understanding even comes. The understanding becomes even more clearer. So this is the power of Srila Prabhupada's books. They are complete in and of themselves, actually. It's amazing how many devotees are able to do what Gopi Paranana has done. They've also done that. They've showcased that Prabhupada's books are very powerful. It's just perhaps in avritam gyanam etena gyanino nityavadina kama rupena konteya dushpurena nalena cha. Our intelligence perhaps to a large degree has been influenced by the modes of material nature, so we are unable to actually understand the Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam and other of Srila Prabhupada's books. So let's take this opportunity to associate with Srila Prabhupada through his purpose. Hare Krishna.